What is up? Welcome to the Pro Physique Code. Oh, just kidding. But it is Rachel and Kayleigh back at it for the Refined Strength podcast. I'm the host here, and I'm joined by my old co-host, Kayleigh Obert. What's up? Oh my gosh, you froze.
She's screwing up.
Oh no. What's up? How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Life is wild right now, but otherwise,
Yeah. Tell me about your life. The last time we podcasted together was like probably the first week of October.
yeah, yeah,
um, several months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. So catch us up on what's been going on.
yeah. So I still have two kids, still
Cool.
married. Those things have been stable.
Awesome.
No, life is good. Went out on my own, and business has been great. I really have enjoyed really the evolution of the past like 5 months, because when that first happened, I'm sure you can attest this. You're like scared a little bit, right? Because you're like,
Oh
okay, I'm doing
yeah.
this. I don't know what, it's like you just have to like jump in, and if you fail, you fail, and if you don't, you don't. But my mind always goes to worst case scenario, like of what could happen, and the exact opposite happened. And it has been really humbling too. And just like I feel like what I wasn't getting before, the reassurance of like you are a good coach, your clients do value you, like all of that was just really concreted for me. And that's been really cool. Like every client I think of mine came over with me. I've had, great client inquiries coming in since, I mean, there's been no slowdown in pace of business. So that's been cool. And then I have little life things too, like we're getting ready to finally build our house, like they're building the road for it this week. So that's
Oh my gosh.
exciting.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah,
Do you
my
have
grandparents are getting ready to move into our basement. So that's like exciting and terrifying at the same time. I'm gonna have two new 80-year-old roommates. Uh,
so they're moving into your basement at your house now
yes.
because they're having to get leave their home, right?
Yeah, yeah. So they've been in the same farmhouse for 57 years. That property that they were on sold. So they got like a 3-week eviction notice. So we are
That's
trying to move these
insane.
57 years of things out of a house of people who like to keep everything. So that has been a struggle in itself. But they're going to come here for now because they're just not accustomed. Like they've been paying $50 rent for 57 years. They're not accustomed to the current cost of living.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and
Damn.
it's just hard to find rentals in general anyway. So they'll be here probably only a couple months. I mean, I'm telling myself that with the idea that they might end up at the new house with us. We
Yeah.
don't know yet. So, but I'm kind of excited too because I've always like, I'm not a cook. I cook prep food and I cook healthy food, but it's just not something. So I'm excited because my grandma is by far the best cook I know. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to use these couple months to really like learn how to bake and cook and do things that don't involve an air fryer and just chicken and broccoli. So
And just like green beans out of a bag.
yeah, yeah. She's gonna see me eating green beans out of a can and lose her mind, probably.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited for you. So you have land that you're building your house on. When do you think the house is going to be finished? Or
They
when's it
said
like,
they said like 3 to 5 months, which seems too fast, but I guess
yeah.
they're just efficient. They get in, they get it done. So we should be in there by the end of summer because I don't want to pull Pearl out of like she's got to start third grade at a new school, new city, and so I don't
Yeah,
want to pull her midway. So
makes sense.
yeah,
So are you like, is it a builder building the house pretty
yeah,
much? Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we were gonna try to general contract our own. And we still will do a lot of the work, but when Jake fell and broke his foot for the second time off a ladder, we decided
He did it
maybe,
again?
yeah. So he did it when I was 3 weeks postpartum. He fell from the greenhouse, finishing the
Yeah.
roof of the greenhouse. And then out on the property, I found an old abandoned foundation, like a concrete foundation, and we needed a place to put like the four-wheelers and the side-by-side while we don't live there because that's the only way to get around on 35 acres. So he built a like garage shed and he was finishing the roof on the ladder while me and the kids were in the like woods exploring. I hear a crash, I hear a yell. He fell off the ladder, broke.
Oh,
Technically, it wasn't his foot, it was like his leg. It was right behind that bone up right behind your ankle. Um, so that was the day before Thanksgiving, a few days before Thanksgiving.
wow.
So we decided we will
You
do
need to be
things,
careful.
we will do the finishing work that involves staying on the ground, like tile, paint, things like that. We'll leave the construction stuff to construction
To
workers.
the guys that know how to not fall off a ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do that. So
Awesome. Well, I want to, we kind of like just like went through so much, but I want to like introduce you to listeners for like a few reasons. A, because this part of my mission with the Refined Strength podcast is to like just amplify voices that I know are really important voices for people to hear. So like I'm gonna have most of my friends are coaches as well, or athletes, or business owners of some kind, and for those of you that don't know, me and Kayleigh used to be on a team called Pro Physique, and we both went off and started our own businesses in October. And she kind of like went through that. But I want to hear about like who you are, what you do, because I know those things are different, and just like what you consider yourself as like, what is your coaching style? So answer that however you want.
okay. So I would say as a whole, like my number one mission with coaching is just I enjoy helping women. Like I just want people to feel like they have a safe place and someone who genuinely cares because those don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I really just enjoy like I like the week like interacting with my clients, learning not only about like their health and their fitness, but actually getting to know my clients. Like the amount of it, I'm sure you can attest this, Rachel, but sometimes we are not therapists, but you will feel like you know so much about. And I feel like some of the very first for my clients, like I know my clients are pregnant before their family most of the time. They will
Yeah.
message me or email me and say, "Hey, I'm pregnant, just found out, thought you should know, but don't say anything. Nobody in my family knows yet." And you're just like, wait a minute,
Wow.
what? You feel so like it makes me feel so good too. Like just
Yeah.
like it's a safe enough place for them. And sometimes you even like there's darker, scarier things that you know before anybody else that they just share with you because they're like, I want you to know this is going on. But I just really like helping people. And I think the reason I was most excited to be on my own is, and this can happen, in any job, but I was held in a ball of what I could do
Yeah.
with who I previously worked for. There was only so much, like me and Rachel can both remember the time that we got in trouble and they had to remove a podcast because we said the word lab work because we think it's important to check your labs and know about your health. And that whole thing got deleted and pulled down because we said lab work and they were very adamant to, you stay in your scope and there's things you don't say, right? So
Yeah.
I'm very
and things we don't imply. I think that was the main issue they had with it. It was like we talked about lab work, but like even in your conversation about the lab work, you said like, I have my clients get lab work, but I have them consult their physician. Like you said something about that. And like
yeah.
you even gave a disclaimer about like how like I'm not prescribing anything. And it was seemingly like we did everything right, but it still got pulled because of the implication. And the other part of that podcast was that like got canceled was the Road to Pro thing. Like we kind of made fun of the people that say hashtag Road to Pro because of the fact that like so many people are focused on just getting a pro card, Road to Pro, hashtag Road to Pro. I'm gonna get my pro card this year, and they really think that like everything they're doing is gonna result in a pro card, and like you really don't know that. Like, there's no way of doing that. Why not just focus more on just being a pro level athlete, even if you're
Yeah,
not
and I think
pro?
that was our main focus was saying that on that particular episode was people who put hashtag road to pro, but they're not doing the things that would get them a pro card.
Yeah.
Like following their nutrition and doing their training and but
Taking it
yeah,
off
so
season.
yeah, one of
Yeah.
the things I think I'm most excited about now with my own business is she'll be onboarded in March is I'm having a nurse practitioner that I'm going to be working hand in hand with who is
That's
going to
awesome.
let my clients know exactly what labs to be drawn. She can read those from a professional standpoint. She's been an NP working in oncology for 13 years. And so I'm very excited just to offer that to my clients. Like they have somebody they can talk to, know exactly what supplement recommendations, exactly how to follow up with your doctor, what to ask for when you're at the doctor for, because sometimes there can be a little bit of an issue with you can tell a client, like, I want you to have this drawn. but there can be pushback when they go to their physician. So they're going to have an advocate that can say, this is exactly what you're going to ask for. This is exactly why you're asking for it. And so that's something I always wanted to offer when we worked for Pro Physique, but we weren't able to do that. And they just had like a hormone clinic, which it can be completely fine. But if I send my client to a hormone clinic, I don't get to call that doctor there and get to discuss with them what
And
they
not all hormone clinics are created equal, you know, like I've had success with having clients go to some hormone clinics and like go through that practitioner, that doctor and get, you know, HRT because they need the HRT. But everyone is a little bit different. And sometimes you get a lot of communication with the people at that clinic, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's someone who really understands, you know, the body and understands what they're doing in terms of like this person is a bodybuilder and whatnot. And then sometimes you don't. And so like I really respect the fact that that's the route you're going, because like you know your own limitations and you also know like what you need to do for your clients. And that's so important is, you know, we all have our different ways of doing things, and like that's the way you feel like is most aligned with how you coach and what your clients need.
Yeah. And I think I love the aspect that not only does the client get that, but then her name's Valerie. We'll have weekly calls where she'll go over, this is all your clients I saw and spoke with this week. This is
That's
all of
awesome.
their stuff. This is the feedback. So then I know what she's telling my clients too, like firsthand from her. So I feel like it's going to be a really good collaboration.
That's dope.
And even if somebody listens to this, even if you're not my client, she's going to be doing this for anybody. So you could, you know, if you just wanted your lab work done and no coaching.
Yeah, I've talked to her already. I'll probably send a few clients her way that need that, or would. Sometimes it's not just like, does the client need that? It's also like, what is the client more comfortable with? Because in bodybuilding, it's really important. This is one of the reasons I left personally was, you know, enhance the sport is like mostly filled with enhanced athletes, especially at the top level. And especially me, like I work with a lot of figure competitors and wellness competitors. And like the figure is my division personally, and I love it. And I want to bring more women into the sport. And there's some women that like are really wanting to stay natural and see what their natural potential is first or for a while. And I respect that 100%. That's what I did. But then there's some who like they do have the maturity level and they have the understanding that they want to go that enhanced route. Some people are more comfortable with trying to do that with, you know, someone like that, where like they go through an HRT clinic, maybe they just start out with some HRT and to like improve numbers and see where that takes them. And then some people want to go the more like standard bodybuilding route, which is like the black market route, and like go through a source and getting the drugs that they want. And everyone's going to be a little different. And so I'm not someone who's going to be like, no, you have to do it this way. I'm going to give you your options and telling you like, these are the pros and cons of these options. And this is what I think that you should do. But it's ultimately up to the client at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I feel like I just came up with this analogy in my mind, but I feel like previously how we were able to be coaches is it a lot like, is that movie called Bird Box where they have the blindfold on? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I feel like if you just put on a blindfold and pretend like people aren't taking PEDs, pretend like labs don't matter or that you're just like out of my scope of practice, out of my hands. Like, I didn't like that feeling of like, you just have a blindfold on, you're kind of like, I have
it causes a disturbance. Like it causes like, well, we can't do this stuff, so we just gotta just not worry about it, not think about it. And I just like I feel the same way. I did not like feeling like I had that blindfold on.
Yeah, I love now it feels like you have unlimited potential with your clients. Like you can literally help them however, you know, you want. We still obviously have perimeters that we stick to and stuff, but it's just been a really nice, like, I don't know, I just feel free. Like, is that you're looking and smiling? I know who you're looking at.
This is a special
Look
guest.
at me, don't look at him.
Oh my gosh, the dogs are all riled up.
You can't come in the video unless you got those boots on, sir.
He has his cloud slides on, his house shoes. But yeah, I totally know what you mean. This flex right here. Yeah, so I'm excited. So you have you're bringing on a nurse practitioner. What else is kind of like something you're excited about with your business and what you're doing?
I'm getting ready, or I'm in the what is the word I'm looking for? I'm having a client retreat. So we have that 35 acres. And I was like, last time I did a client retreat, it was when I sold for Pro Physique, I did it in Arizona, and it was really cool. Like 7 girls showed up, but it was a little more like expensive. They had to we paid for, actually, I paid for the Airbnb, but it was more of an expense, right? Like they had to pay for their own food, things like that.
Yeah.
And with our previous company, it's very expensive to go to the retreat they have. So I wanted something where lifestyle and competitors can come together with very like a small amount of financial on their end. So I'm gonna do like a full it's gonna be like a in my mind, like we're all just gonna stay in tents because it's on 35 acres. Our house may or may not be done in June when we have the retreat. So I'm gonna get those luxury porta potties.
I was just gonna say, I bet you're getting luxury porta potties.
Yeah.
Have you ever been inside of one of those?
Like party porta potties. So we'll have those out there. And it just registered the other day where I'm like, wait a minute, it's 2 days. How's everybody gonna shower? So I'm gonna see if you can rent showers. I think the house will be done enough where people can go in there and shower if they want. But everybody's just gonna camp. We'll have like a fire, and I'll just have food catered in. I might even have just have a food truck show up one time during the day for either like a lunch dinner time. And then we'll just hang out. Like everybody just hangs out, and
Yeah.
just a way for everybody to kind of come together and just get to know each other. Because it's hard when you are you're a digital coach, right? Like everything's through email. You don't see, I see people at shows, but it's very rare I'll see a lifestyle client unless they're local to me. So I just thought it'd be something cool to do. So I'm excited about that. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about right now. I am getting ready to revamp a Google Sheets. I don't know why I'm so excited about that, but
And Google Sheets are the shit. Like
yeah,
I run almost my whole business on Google.
Yeah, so I might need your feedback on that a little bit because I do like a check-in sheet now, and it's all through email. But since I've been working with Mark, your coach as well,
Are you still working with him?
Yeah, so I've just gotten a whole new fresh perspective, and which I love. And I love the Google Sheets because you can just scroll up, see everything. Because now, when a client checks in, I pull up, I'll just put in their name, so then I have every check-in they've ever sent there, and I'll go back and click on them to see data. But I was like, a Google Sheet would be so much easier because you just scroll. But there's always that thing where my younger clients usually don't have an issue, but the older clients, sometimes technology is not their friend. And so that's been my only holdback so far on not having everybody on a Google Sheet for them, is because you're always going to have clients I cannot, I still have some that take they print their check-in sheet, they fill it out, and they take a picture, and I get a picture of their handwritten check-in sheet. And so I know those people are going to struggle with they may never come over. I actually have one client I've had for at least 2 years, and she does that picture of her check-in sheet, but she texts it to me every week. Wow. All of our communication's always been through text.
Wow.
Because it's just what she can handle. You got to kind of meet the client with what and she's not a competitor or anything like that. She's in her 60s. She just likes having the accountability and the workouts. And she does do her workouts in the app, so she handles that part of it just fine.
Good. It's funny you say that because I used to feel so when I first started coaching at more of a high level, back in 2021, where I was instead of just my side hustle coaching of 5 or 6 clients, where I let them all kind of do their own thing, check in when you want, I'll get to it when I can. But as you get busier and with not only just more clients, but also just running our own business, we have a full running business that it's online, it's not brick and mortar, but there's still a lot to manage. You start to see where there's gaps and where there's things that are taking up more of your time. And how I always frame it when I either make a change for a client, when I switch things over to, using with our last company, we had the check-in app, and there were always so many just troubleshooting issues that I had to deal with.
I'm so happy to not have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. And for me, I also switched over to a sheet back a year and a half ago, before I even switched over to my own business. And I was like, I started it with just the new clients and any client who was going to start a prep. And then I just started seeing how much easier it was. And I remember the first time I had like someone who we kind of categorized as like older, not as technologically savvy. I started them on the Google Sheet when like I started working with them, just as like this is how I check in. And just like helping people through the Google Sheet thing, that really made me realize like sometimes we don't give people enough credit for like
Yeah.
what they're able to learn. And I heard someone, I think I was listening to a podcast about this where someone was saying the same thing about kids. Like our kid, like not mine, I don't have kids, but like kids are so much more like capable than people think they are. Like, and it was Layla Hormozy. She was talking about when she was a kid, her mom would just like leave for days at a time because she was going through a lot,
Yeah.
and so like she was 10 years old or something like that, having to like cook all of her own food, get herself to school, do like figure out how to stay alive. And like the interviewer is like, wow, I can't believe you did that at that young of an age. And she's like, well, kids are a lot more capable than we give them credit for. And I think same thing goes for older generations is like sometimes, and this is what I've found with my clients that has even made me closer to them and allowed them to even like respect me as a coach more and what I do is like asking and demanding that respect and the trust in the process, not just to trust the process, do what I say blindly, but like knowing the reason I have you do this Google Sheet. The reason is I can see all of your data all at once, and that helps me not have to ask you more questions. It helps me so we don't have as much back and forth. It doesn't take more time out of your day or my day. And I can get you a better response and I can do my job better if I can review your data better. And
Yeah.
that's what I've found has been really helpful over the last few years in like transitioning everyone over to a sheet like that. I definitely had pushback with some people early on, but as long as they're, what's up, dude?
But I just realized my laptop was almost dead. That's why I was texting. I was like, bring charger. Everything's in bags from being at the hospital this weekend.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it just like has surprised me a lot in just how they're able to like adapt a new system. And sometimes I'll even say like, I know this Google Sheet is a lot. If you want to start off by just filling out these columns and just leaving the other columns blank, that's okay too. And then over time, what I've found is like they see the data themselves
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, this is really cool. I can see everything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
And I think it makes you a lot more, a sheet makes you a lot more aware of your true consistency too. Because I know for myself, looking at mine with Mark, it has been a shit show the last 2 weeks with moving my grandparents and then with Henry this past weekend. But it really puts in perspective when you think you're doing a good enough job and then you look at the hard data and you're like, okay, actually, not been that great. It has not
Yeah,
been that great.
yeah. Especially because like when we look back over like a week or a month, and we especially I find this especially with some lifestyle clients who like have more specific goals than just like a I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
And they're like, say someone is really wanting to do a fat loss phase. And I'm like, well, we can't do that until we get your metabolism up and until you can be consistent with your just day-to-day building or maintenance macros.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I feel like I've been pretty consistent though. And then I can look and like, but you rate yourself like a 70, an 80, a 75, a 65, and then like 3 days in a row of 85. And that's not really consistency. You
Yeah.
know, that's like, it's good enough if your goal is just to like chill and maintain and be like generally healthy. But if you have the goal of like losing a lot of weight, then that's a really specific goal. If you want to look this certain way, and then that puts it into perspective for them. So it gives them more accountability and they're more honest with themselves because they realize that like, okay, well, I'm not going to get what I want until I do what she wants. So,
Yep.
so hold on, I have some more questions. So you, before you started coaching full time, when did you start that, by the way?
I went full
2018?
time in 2019.
Okay. What were you doing before that? You did something for a really long time.
Yeah, so I worked at the a veterans nursing home for 10 years with the state of Illinois. So I did that for 10 years and then I coached for a year like on my own before I started working for Pro Physique. So I did a year on my own as like a side thing. And then in 2019, it was actually, I think like, it was October of 2019. I remember because I was so excited I wouldn't have to worry about whether I had to work on Christmas or not, or Christmas, Halloween or not to take girls
Yeah.
trick or so it was in October that I decided like, hey, things have gotten busy enough. I have to choose one way, I need to choose one job to go to be full time at. And so I chose coaching, which I'm really happy with. So I was with Pro Physique, let's see, 2019 to what, 23, so 4 years.
Yeah. So
Which is a long,
sorry, what?
no, I was just saying, which is a long time.
Yeah, it is. And I was there with for just almost about 3 years. What would you say led you on the path to like coaching in general? Like you started side hustle coaching a little bit, and then
Yeah,
like what made you really decide like I can do this full time. I want to do this. I don't want to be a nurse anymore.
yeah. So I can remember the exact moment I knew I was going to coach just in general.
Yeah.
There was a local girl and she was doing people's contest preps. And a local girl reached out to me for help and gave me like what she was doing and like just how helpful it was being. And I'm just like, what is this person doing? Do they even care? You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah.
responding, not answering questions. In my opinion, the protocol just didn't make any sense. It's not that it was dangerous, it just didn't make sense for a bikini athlete. And so I was like, the only way I can help and be a part of this is if I put myself in the realm to coach people. So at that time I was like, what would I need to do? Because I had my bachelor's degree, but not in, anything coaching related. And so I got on the NASM website. I bought my like thing to do my CPT because in my mind that was the first step. I needed at bare minimal, I needed my NASM CPT to like coach people. And so that's what I did. Because I just wanted to help, right? You can't help everybody. You can't possibly coach everybody. That's why I don't understand why coaches get so where they want to talk about other coaches and battle. Like there are plenty of people to coach. So I knew it couldn't help everyone, but I wanted to help specifically women just for like a safe approach, right? As safe as you can be. And then once I started doing that, because initially, anytime you start anything, even if you're very excited, you don't know one, if you're going to be good at it, and you don't know if you're truly going to like it or not. Because I knew I loved competing. I had been competing at that time for 4 years, and I knew I loved bodybuilding and the industry and all of that. But honestly, when I started, I didn't know if I was going to love coaching because I have a different personality. And, I was like, I didn't know if I could handle it. And so right away I realized like, oh man, I really like this. Like I'm enjoying doing this. And for me, I do see the blessing in when I first started coaching, I had a lot, like I have like 30,000 Instagram followers. And so I didn't have to do a lot of the grunt work that a lot of new coaches have to do to like get the clients. I literally posted one time in my story, I was going to start coaching if anybody was interested. And I had like 15 clients in literally 24 hours. And I was like,
Damn.
How in the hell do I do this? Right? Like I had the idea I was going to coach, but I didn't have spreadsheets ready. I didn't have new client. I had nothing prepared. So all of a sudden I just literally, like you said, you just adapt. And I'm like, I have to do this and I have to do a good job at it. So I just like figured it all out. And did I make some mistakes in the beginning? Probably. Like I've always had like quick response times and I've always cared, but there's just little things you don't even think about you need prepared and you need to do.
Yeah. What are some of those things that you found were like the hardest in the beginning that you just like were not prepared for?
Not having documents ready. So like when I say that is like having like a check-in sheet, right? I didn't have a check-in sheet. I had the check-in sheet I was using that I sent Paul. So I just like made my own, but it looked very similar to his because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have now I have like a new client document that gets sent out that has, where it looks pretty and there's where are your macros, where's your cardio? And now it's just like you just fill it in for the client, right? I didn't have any of that. That was the biggest mistake I made was I just wasn't prepared. I knew I wanted to do it and I knew I wanted to help people, but I wasn't prepared with a lot of the back end stuff. Taking payments, like I just like didn't think about it. Are they gonna Venmo me?
I don't know. Send
like Venmo wasn't even big back then, so I think I had them PayPal me or something. I don't know. I didn't know. I just had it. I had this dream of what I was gonna do and literally figured it out along the way. And then the very beginning, contest prep clients. I had I had been through a prep I think 12 shows at that time. So I knew, but the first time you go to peak a client, you're really just figuring it out because you've never prepped any client for peak week before. And you know what it might says on a piece of paper. This, you can watch a million YouTube videos from very intelligent people on how to peak somebody, but it's never going to follow a blueprint on a human body until you just do it. So, the first time it's literally like, is this going to work out? I don't know. We're going to find out together. But it has to be that way because to peak a client, as you know, it's a learning process until you.
Well, everyone's a little different too. And I think part of being successful in that is earning the client's trust, but also just getting to know the client and their body. Because everyone's a little different in how they are going to like perceive information and perceive you and your feedback to them. And then everyone's a little different in just like how their body responds to stuff. Some people respond better to more food, less food. It also depends on how ready you are to peak. That's something that I think I made more mistakes in about for like in the first year of full-time coaching and coaching competitors is just not getting people lean enough for the style of peaking that I knew. Because I had only ever known one style of peaking, which is like a linear progressive load where carbs go up throughout the week, cardio goes down. And that's great for someone who is very, very lean early on. And like you should be very, very lean early on, or before you start a peak week. But some people just aren't. Some people don't have the muscle maturity to get that lean when they're first time competitors. Some people just simply decide they don't want to push that hard to get as lean, but they still want to compete and see what it's about. So everyone's a little different. That means they need different peaking styles. And I think that's what made me such a better coach in my, like, I would say second full year of coaching is, is learning and like doing more research and just educating myself on like different styles of peaking and different coaching protocols and things like that. I've obviously I learned a lot from, Paul as my first coach. And then I've learned a lot from Mark, my coach now. But I also have made sure to learn more, taking both J3U courses that I've taken. And like you said, watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts and just soaking up as much information as you can. I think we talked about this offline before we started recording, but evolving as a coach in your coaching career, if you want to make it a long-term full-time career, you have evolution has to be a part of what you do. It has to be a goal that you don't just put off until I'll do that when I'm making more money, or I'll do that when I need to, when I see the need. But the need is always there because there's always other coaches out there. And this doesn't mean that you're competing with other coaches per se, but there's always other people that are evolving and learning more and how to serve clients better. So wouldn't you want to evolve and learn past just what's worked for you and what's worked for your clients that you've already had?
I think you're failing your clients by doing that too. In the grand scheme, I think you're failing your clients by not trying to evolve. And some things, people will do, and you'll kind of look into it and be like, I'm actually that doesn't make sense to me, or I'm not down for that for my clients. That's going to happen too. But I think if you're not at least willing to say maybe we should be pulling labs more often. Maybe we should be requesting specific things. If you refuse to acknowledge that, I think you're doing a disservice in the long run to your clients. It doesn't mean you're doing a bad job or that you're not offering something good. But for me as a coach, I want to be offering the best I can for them. I want to feel like I am doing my best to stay knowledgeable and help them. And that's why that was a big push for me to want to be on my own. It wasn't that I felt like I was doing a bad job of coaching. I felt like I was held back as a coach. And so this was a way for me to fully feel like I'm in control of what I can offer and do. You don't feel I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it totally does. Because even if you're doing something that's different from what you've been allowed to do before, or what has been kind of, supported versus frowned upon or whatever, it's on you. I when I first started coaching, it's not I had a plan, okay, 3 years in, I'm going to go off on my own. I had a plan of I want to just be the best coach I can be. I want to learn as much as I can. And I want to, build wealth for myself. I want to get out of the corporate life. I had been in gym management, in property management, and like just kind of, I had this point in 2020 where I had pretty much gone as far as I could go as an executive assistant in property management. And when talking to my boss about like what's next for me, it would be either changing gears completely and going over to, project management and learning that whole life with construction, or going into just being a master of assistance. And I was like, that sounds terrible. um, but I learned in that time, I learned so much about just like being better as like being better organized, helping more people, being able, like being a problem solver, and like time management and people management and stuff like that. And so that I think helped me now manage my people and my client roster, but also helped me in business management and just my trajectory as a person and building my own wealth
Yeah.
for myself, business, and all of that. I don't know how we got on that, but yeah, I think
It's funny you say it. I feel like every job I had before I was a coach, I can take little pieces of each of those that made me the coach I am. Like I always think like there's something wrong with this, but people that get straight out of like college and then they become an online coach, like they literally are just like, I can't imagine if that would have like, I'm glad I had other jobs first. It kind of reminds
yeah,
me of like when you date other people before you get married kind of thing. Like it's
yeah,
just that experience that makes you the person that you are. And even though like obviously I end up quitting my previous job, working for ProPhysique, I'm still like so much of that made me exactly who I am as a coach.
yeah,
Like
and
there's
like, and
so
I think
much.
that's an important thing to take away from like this episode specifically. Like anyone listening who used to listen to us on the code, used to, who's even people who are still very supportive or on ProPhysique. It's like I'm so grateful for my time there. I
Yeah.
learned so much, not just from the people around me, like other coaches, and clients there, but like just about the industry as a whole. We got to be close to the industry in different ways. We got to see benefits of being around other coaches and having that team. And we also just got to know ourselves better and become better versions of ourselves as coaches and as athletes and as people. And I think that's the best thing that any coach can hope for, is like just learning as much as you can and applying what you're learning. And for us specifically, like we see our trajectory in just a different way than we did, maybe a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, and there was definitely a huge blessing, and we both got lucky that when we went full-time coaching, we had a way to be fed clients, right? Because like a
Yeah.
lot of people starting out on their own, you just have to like, you just have to figure it out and hope the clients come to you. We both got very lucky where in the beginning, what would have been a hard stage of trying to build a roster, we did have literally they would give you the client, right? And then eventually you do coaching long enough, and then I think both of us got to a pretty much a point where we were bringing in our own clients, right? Like people knew who
Yeah.
you were, respected, and your knowledge and all of that. So that I'm very grateful for. But sometimes good things do come to an end, and it just so happened on the same day for me and Rachel. It was not planned, I swear, but I feel like we both just had each other. Like, I think
Yeah.
we both, like, sometimes you just need somebody to be like, am I crazy? Like, am I crazy or is this happening? Am I crazy or is this, And so we both had each other to kind of be able to be a soundboard off of and get
Yeah,
feedback.
and it's not about like, hey, I'm leaving, you should leave too. It was never
Yeah.
like that. And I think that was kind of possibly how it was perceived by others. And I know for me, like having you as a support and like someone to listen to me, like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. Or like, hey, this is going on. Is it going on for you? Because I don't know who else to talk to. Because that was the kind of issue I think with both of us, is like there was just no one to express the concern to, especially if you do express concerns and it gets met with like, well, nothing we can do about it, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
well, I think the difference between you and I in that scenario is I was voicing, like I would voice, and sometimes I felt like, and I'm this kind of person anyway, where not only will I voice my issue, but if I see somebody else, something happening to them that I do not agree with, and I don't want to say I feel bad for them, but there were people, not you, that I would hear like this was said to me, you're done.
yeah.
I don't know who else to talk to, and I'm not even a manager. And I'm like, so then out of like, I want to
Oh, that
like
happened to me too. Yeah.
you want to stick up for that person and like you you just want to help, and it makes you feel so helpless when you can't, like, because there's still scenarios that I was never able to tell them, like, hey, this happened, like this
Mhm.
manager said and did this, but I couldn't, and I still can't because I would never want to risk someone else's job because that's what would happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
that person, but that, yeah,
Well, you
I
always
definitely,
want to show that like you have the maturity to not be like thought of as like I'm just talking shit, like because
yeah,
that's what I never wanted to have come across because I want to like I want to be seen as a professional. I want to be seen
yeah.
as a mature like adult. And so I think, there's things that we both like expressed that we thought that, oh my gosh, there's a bug in here. Um, both expressed that was met with not as great a not the response that we hoped for. And when you have that enough times and you're also dealing with other just like obstacles, like for me, I was lucky enough, not lucky enough, but like I was really in a good place last year to buy my own home. And I bought it completely myself. Everything was all me, through income that I earned with my job as a coach for that company. And I think, while that's amazing, but like I am someone who wants to keep moving forward with that. I bought this house to be an investment. I want to invest later and in more properties and more. And when I was looking at, what am I making? What am I, spending on my business and on myself and just day-to-day life? And how am I going to grow? And at what pace can I grow? And for me, I realized like I really want to grow faster than I'm able to at my current rate. And I had that realization that I am not seen as worth more than I'm being paid. So how can I and I think that like that are you worth it is like in the eye of the beholder, right? Is like, yes, I'm being told that I'm a great coach. I'm being told all these good things, and that's awesome. I loved hearing those words of affirmation, but at the end of the day, like action is what matters to me. And the dogs found the bug, I think. Um, and so when I was told that early last year, I decided to say, like, well, what can I do to prove to myself or maybe to them that I'm more worth it? And for me, it was, I'm going to stop taking leads that aren't mine. I'm going to try to work only on referrals or people that directly say, I want to work with Rachel and nobody else. And
Yep.
so that was my focus all of last year. And when I saw that that was actually like, hey, stop it. When I saw that that was actually working, that's what like blew my mind. I'm like, wow, I'm like actually doing it. Like, yes, I have a following and that helps, but also something that Austin said to me like a few weeks ago when I was like, oh my God, I'm getting all these inquiries. Like, this is crazy. Hey, no, he's about to knock over the camera. Um, I realized that like I've built a brand and you have built a brand and you had built a brand way before you even joined the team too, but like you were able to slowly like get better and better and have that brand be like more and more of like a well-known just presence. And that's what's important if someone is listening to this wanting to become a coach and go full time is like it can't just be about like you look good and you're going to market yourself by just showing what you can follow from a coach. You have to be a good coach and learn and always know that you're going to evolve, but you also have to build a brand for yourself and show up on social media. Figure out what works for yourself. Like really get to know your clients and like get good results so you can share those results. And it's all about just like building that culture.
Yeah, I think people get so confused too when they're building a brand. I feel like a lot of people, because they'll hire people to kind of help them do this, they're trying to, I think they look at a brand they like and they're like, I'm going to try to build myself like that. Where I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you and I both do this. We're just genuine people. We share our actual life and our actual, like, anybody who looks at your social media or mine automatically can say, like, you are the strength, muscle, like, more of a badass atmosphere. And I'm more of like the mom, bubblegum. Like, but it's very obvious by looking at our social
Mm-hmm.
media. That's just who we are. We're
Yeah.
not trying to pretend like we are one way. Because if I tried to pretend like I was you, it, maybe for a minute, people might be like, "Oh, she's a badass. I like her," but then they're like, "No, she's not."
But like you are a badass, but in your own brand, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're a mom of two, you have like you're incredible with like the design of your home and like how you share certain things and like how you show up for your kids and show that like part of your life. And like I'm a badass in my own way, you know, like people know me for certain things and that's where I like see the going back to like the competition among coaches and when coaches try to poach clients or talk shit about other coaches, it's like there's enough for all of us to eat because we're all so different. And the more that you can really lean into who you are just authentically, it like the more people are going to like come to you. But if you try to be like everybody else, or if you try to down like talk down on other people doing what you do, then you're probably not going to have longevity in this game of coaching. And like, yeah, we've only been coaching for like, you know, 5 or so years, but like think about most people that start trying to coach. And if they've been doing that for 5 years, most people are not coaching at the level we are. How many
Yeah.
clients do you have?
85 right now, I think.
Yeah, and I have 65 and like those are great numbers for both of us. And like
Yeah.
roster numbers don't matter as much as like what is your retention like? What is your like
Yeah.
testimonials like? What do people say about you when they leave? I think that is what has like helped me really see the value in what I'm doing is like even when people leave, they don't really have anything negative to say about me because it's like they just left because they were, you know, financially couldn't do it anymore or just like it wasn't, I couldn't reach I decided to shift goals or, whatever it is that they decided. I've had people leave because they didn't agree with how I coach, but none of them can say, and none of them have said that like, I'm a bad person, right? Like, it's always like, I really love you as a person. You're great. It's just like, I got to figure out what I'm doing, you
Yeah.
know?
I think one of the biggest things that made me realize, and this has happened over the years, but maybe it was like, I am a good coach and people do see the value is it's not in my retention rate. It's not in how long someone's been with me. For me, it was when people would go for whatever reason, but then come back. The
Yeah.
amount of people that I have come back, and there's been people that were with me when I worked with Pro Physique, and they quit for whatever reason. And the amount of those people that when I went out on my own, this was like one of my proudest moments is when I went out on my own. The amount of people that used to work with me that reach out, I'm like, I just want to support you. Can I come back to coaching?
That's
It
so
was like
cool.
insane. And I'm like, yeah, like they could have went back with that company. They could have been like, oh, I'm ready for coaching and I'll pick somebody else. But it was never for a lot of clients, no matter who you're working for, they're not, you get convinced that they're there for that brand. They're there because of that. It's not you. But then when you are on your own and you have those people come back and say like, no, I was with that team for you. You were a great coach. And not saying anything bad about that team. It's not about that. It's about that's how you know like you're where you're supposed to be and you are a good coach. It's because people like they come back for
See,
you. They don't. Yeah, it's not about what they're paying. It's not about what brand shirt they can wear around and all of that. It's like it's a cool feeling. That made me feel absolutely amazing and it still does because I still have people that continue to be like, "Hey, I'm ready to coach again. You're still coaching, right? You're just on your own now. Like let me know how this setup goes and how and you probably got this question a lot too. I just thought about this is when I switched over to my own, they're like, what's going to change about coaching? And I'm like, nothing changes about how I coach in terms of like I'm still the same coach. Like I'm not gonna not offer something. If anything, I think we both are just able to offer a little bit more in terms of support and things like that. But I leaving had nothing to do with me changing as a coach. It was just like it was time to evolve. It was time to I just gotten like you to a point where you feel like this is the best it's gonna get. And even though that best it's gonna get was still great opportunity and great.
And it's great for some people too, like all the coaches are still on that team. Like they're doing great from what I know. Like I see regularly like people really happy with their coaches and like I think it's cool because like for me, the first couple years, being at the split that I was at in terms of like how much of my money goes to the company, how much comes to me, like it was worth it to me because like, yeah, I got some leads. I got to like be a part of a brand. I got to, be on the podcast and amplify my voice there. Like lots of things to me were worth it. And then as we evolve, things don't become worth it anymore. So
Yeah.
like I have my own check-in process that works for me better as a coach, but I'm still supposed to use this app that I really hate and my clients don't like. So like
Yeah.
it just makes sense for me to evolve and be on my own, have my own risks, have my own, challenges that I figure out and that I don't necessarily get to go to someone for or like tell someone about. But what I love about where I'm at now is that like I almost have more collaboration than I did before because, I can go to you or my friend Sonia, or I can go to, my mentor that I hired, Austin. Like I have so much more ability now to like collaborate with anyone that I feel like would make sense for me and the problem that I'm maybe having.
Yeah.
And I also was in that place of feeling like, man, what if my clients, especially like my bikini girls, like what if they all just are here for Pro Physique? And we just had that big seminar in Texas, and that was like such a great time. And I had like 3 clients at that, and I got to speak at it and everything. And what was cool about that is that like same thing as you, everyone just is there for me. They're there because like yeah, they maybe heard about me through this, but like they stayed for me. And they like when I told all of my clients, I had everyone on a Zoom meeting and I was like, hey, this is what's happening. Nothing about my coaching will change. Your prices will never change. They'll still stay the same, but I will be able to become and evolve into an even better coach because it's only me. And that like I'm the one I'm answering to. And that was what like they all were like really excited about. They're like, that's awesome. We're so proud of you. Like being told that my clients are proud of me and they look up to me, even if they're older than me or if they don't do what I do, like that was what really hit me is like I'm doing the right thing. Like this is something that makes sense for me.
Yeah. And I feel like it gave me a good perspective too. Like right now, it's just me. I don't have any coaches working with me or anything like that, but it gives me a perspective of if I ever got to that point, I think it gives me, I'm going to have a little more empathy for how I handle that. I feel like, because
Yeah.
what you would want to do, because like Valerie, that's going to be helping me, I'm taking no part of anything she makes from that. Because she was like,
Yeah.
well, how do you want to do this? I'm like, you run your own thing. Like you're a thing for my clients, but I don't need a part of what you're doing. Like my clients pay me per month and whatever you're doing for them, like you do for them, they pay you for that.
Yeah.
And she was just like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm not here to use you. I'm not trying to get a part of what you're doing here. Like, and you're a doctor, so I feel like you got this,
Yeah.
but it does put a different perspective because anytime I think about if I was, to have like a assistant coach or something like that, it does put in perspective. And that's another thing I don't want to talk about Mark this whole time, but like how he handles his business is super impressive.
It is.
Like just
Yeah.
seeing like somehow I saw in his story one day how he does his splits and just how he like thinks about that whole thing, and I'm just like it's really impressive, but it's like it made me respect him a whole lot more too
Yeah.
because he's got like you can tell Mark, I mean, everybody needs money, right? We have to make money, but he's not about like, he's not trying to get rich from the people that work for him. He genuinely wants to improve their life. And like, he obviously needs to pay his back end costs. Like that's,
Yeah.
but that made me respect him a lot just as a person. You learn a lot about somebody. Money is a terrible thing to have to talk about. Like I hate it and it sucks, but you learn a lot about somebody by the way they approach that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I've learned in just the whole process of like seeing the reasons I wanted to go off on my own, like, yeah, I wanted to make more money. Like, that's pretty simple. I want to be able to support myself and build wealth for myself.
Yeah.
It's not about like, I just want more money and more money. It's about like, I want to make how I make money more sense to me. Because to me, I'm making my own leads. I'm using my own systems. I want to put more money into different types of education. Things like that. So it made more sense to me like, well, I need more money for that. And I don't I went to a place where I was at a higher roster number at one point back in like 21, 22, and I didn't like it. Like
I
I
ran
didn't,
120 clients once,
yeah,
and it was hard. I did it because I'm a hard worker, but it's hard to manage that.
yeah. And if I'm allowed to choose my hard, whereas like I want to spend more time on each client because that's what has helped me become the coach that each client really loves and values, then I need to figure out how to scale in a way that makes sense for me. So for me, it made sense to like, I'm going to give myself this raise by going off on my own and eventually raising my prices for new clients, things like that, which I have done. And there's also other ways of making money. And I think in this day and age, that's kind of just like that's what people do is like, you don't have to just do one thing. I also work for Core Nutritionals. I'm the athlete manager and I have, income from my sales. So I have that income stream. I can also create products. I can create things that can make me money in other ways, like such as an ebook that I'm working on.
Yeah.
I can do so many different things. Like part of buying this house is like, I want to make it an investment income producing property. I love making money and like having my own things and being able to support myself, but I don't necessarily want to scale the part that is about people and their health and
Yeah.
their mental well-being, because if I can only spend like 2 to 5 minutes on a client every week because I have too many, then I'm not giving them a good service, in my opinion, and with
Yeah.
up to my standard, which is going to be different than anyone else's standard, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was probably my biggest reason that I like my final thing that made me decide like I didn't want to leave. I didn't like I really did see that as a family and I loved pretty much
mhm.
everybody that I worked with. Um, but the part for me that was like it's time. Like I remember having the exact moment where I'm like it's time is when there's actually two, but the first one was when I was pregnant with Henry and I was having the conversation with my manager at the time about like what's the plan, right? Because you're gonna have a kid, like you gotta
Yeah,
usually my old job when I worked for the state, I got 9 weeks off of paid maternity leave. Obviously, that's not an option in this kind of scenario, but I asked very simply, could we prorate my clients for 2 weeks so that I could take 2 weeks off to be with my son? And I was told that it was unrealistic, that I could ask higher up, but it was unrealistic. So I went ahead and I asked higher up, was told again, that's not realistic. You can either get rid of your clients. I have to work for a living. I couldn't do that. So I literally it was fine. I did it. I had my son at like 9 p.m. and at 8 a.m. I was in the hospital bed with my laptop with him beside me working. But
yeah,
that was my moment where I was like, I'm not family. I'm going to try not to cry. I feel like I'm going to cry, but I felt like that was my moment when I realized like this isn't a family. This is a business and that's okay. You have to run a business. But I realized like this isn't it.
yeah,
And then like I felt like I would like talk about it and I would kind of like that's when I started planning, right? Like making like documents like I talked about that had my logo on it and just having everything ready in case one day I just woke up and said, because you'll have moments like, this is it, like this is the day. But little piddly things would happen where like, was it an issue? Yes, but was it worth quitting over? No. You know what I mean? Like, the issues that I had. But then when we got that email that day about the new split, that's when I realized my options were to stay where I was at and get a pay decrease or go back to running 120 clients to stay where I'm at. And I was like, it's
that's scary.
nobody. Yeah, and it's
Honestly, like it was
nobody's
scary to
job.
me seeing that and having the
Yeah.
talk I had with management about it. It was honestly like, oh shit, I don't know if this is going to work for me. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. And I knew like at the time I said, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm a hard worker and I am. But then I thought, man, it's going to take away from my family. And for me, do I want to make money and all of that? Yes. But my family is going to come first. Like I initially started coaching to work from home to be with my daughter. I just had her all the time. But it was like I'm going to go back to kind of where I was at before, where a lot of people you're a slave to your job. You have to, like, you have to do the things, you have to clock in and out. You only get so many vacation days. Like, it's just that's part of life. And I was like, I made this huge change and walked away from a 10-year job to be right back where I'm at with
Yeah.
management. That is an issue for me. And with the new system that's putting me right back to where I was. And that's when that was the first one was my postpartum issue, but the second one was that email. And I'm like, it's time.
Well,
It's
and
time.
like you said, I think that this is something that like is important to recognize. Like people gonna run their business how they want to, and like
Mhm.
employees, they're sometimes that doesn't work for them, right? So like
And
that's
not everybody has the option. Like I am very aware of I am lucky that I was in a position to say, I'm out. Not everybody, no matter what your job is, who your boss is, like everybody at some point is going to be unhappy in a job.
yeah.
It's just how it is. But I was in a position where I could go on my own, and not everybody has it. And even when I was able to walk away from my 10-year job to see if full-time coaching worked, I had my husband with a good job who said, let's just do it. It's
Yeah.
gonna make you happy. Like I understand the privilege in that for myself. And even this time stepping on my own, I knew that he had me. Like if I
Yeah.
failed at my own business, my husband, you know what I mean? And there is a huge, huge privilege in that. And that,
Yeah.
I recognize that not everybody can say, F your manager or whatever and just go. I mean, you did it and you were fine, but you did it with no safety net, right? And
No.
that's,
Yeah.
that's, I can't imagine. Like, you're just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah. And that like that was a risk that I realized like, okay, if I'm gonna do this because I have, these things I don't like about a company or whatever, then like I need to make sure that I'm okay. And but in life there's gonna be risks. There's always risk. And so for me, like I did not have a safety net. I didn't have like the ability to just like boom, go back and get a salary job. But I saw through my clients, like I really thought about all of my clients and everything that they, give me each week. And I did kind of an inventory, and people would ask me, like the people that knew, very few people that knew before I left, was like, do you think all your clients will come with you? And I'm like, I think like at least 70% will come with me. I'm pretty sure. There's like a group that's like iffy. And it was like, to me, it was like the people that I felt like were probably more married to the team than me. And then there was like a few people that are like brand new that maybe they just haven't gotten to know me enough yet. They decide to stay or whatever. And then I was surprised to find that like literally everyone came with me. But part of what I'm really glad that I did, not just when I left, but before that and like throughout my coaching career, especially in like the second, like the last year and a half before leaving, was I started getting really almost aggressive at asking for feedback from my clients. And just taking like the value of taking responsibility became much bigger to me, even in like how I talk to my manager, and just like when I would, if I had an unhappy client or someone fucked up the billing on something, someone got charged when they should have canceled or something like that. If I really saw like, okay, I messed this up, I would immediately let them know, like, hey, I messed up on this. I'm resolving it. It's good. And that taking responsibility just really set me free. And it made me, and then with my clients, it also set me free, but it also helped them see that I was really, really on their side. Because I would tell people
Yeah.
whether they were leaving for financial reasons or whether they were just still with me. And I was asking them, hey, what is some feedback you have for me? If there were anything I could do to be a better coach, what would it be? It's okay if it's negative or if you feel bad for saying it. I really want to know. Like I would just like plead with them to know, like, tell me what is your negative feedback for me, if any. Because
Yeah.
like if you want positive feedback to give me, like that's great too. I'll take it. But the constructive feedback, I would tell people, especially people who are leaving, what is something I could have done better as a coach, either to keep you here or something that you wish I would have done. And getting that feedback has made me such a better coach.
I agree. I do that same thing whenever somebody leaves. I'm like, if you could just give me like anything I could improve on, or, but you read that and everybody does this, even if it's like, cause sometimes I've never had anybody be like nasty about it, but they'll say things and you just didn't think about it, right? Sometimes you think somebody's okay, or you think they're good, or you're doing what as a coach to
Yeah.
help, but then they say something and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. I should be
Yeah.
doing that. You know what I mean? And I think that helps people no matter what you're doing. It just helps you like evolve as a person and be like, why wasn't I doing that the whole time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've had people say things where it's just small things that they probably think was nothing, but then you realize so many people could benefit if you were doing that.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing. I'm always scared though, because you're like, what if they're like, you suck, I hate you. Nobody's ever done that. But yeah. It's always a risk.
I agree. I think that's been one of the best things that I could have done for myself that was also really hard to ask for and I think is hard for a lot of people to ask for is like just ask for honesty, but also to be honest with people. And I think that's something you and I really align on and like connect with is like we are fucking honest.
Yeah.
But not just like
Better
to
or
people
worse.
around us. Yeah, but our clients, prospective clients, like I had someone like, I had someone that came to me as a prospect and she'd been following me for a while and we did a consult and I was like honest with her. I'm like, I really don't work with very many people your age. And it was a woman in her 70s, I think. This is the client we're talking about. And I was like, I'm not saying I can't do it, but I'm saying like you asked me previously, like how many people I work with at your age. It's not many, like zero. So if you want someone more experienced, you should go to someone more experienced. And that's when I sent her to you, and she's been doing awesome because
I know.
she's the right coach.
Yeah, that transformation for her. She is 70 years old. Anybody who thinks you can't, she trains hard. She has put on some glutes and just it's really fun. But the same way when I had a client at a show and she was like, hey, my two friends are here that do figure. They want to know if you'd coach them. I'm like, no, but you know who they should reach out to? Rachel. you know? But I think that's part of being a good coach is recognizing sometimes like we wouldn't be a good fit. But being such a good coach, you'll find somebody for them that would be a great fit.
And just knowing all the people that we know, like you and I both know really great coaches. And like sometimes I know someone is just going to be a better fit for someone. Especially because like there's different parts of my career. Like now that I'm totally on my own, I can be a lot more selective with my clients. And like I'm at what I call my like capacity currently. Like I'm not going to take on any more clients for the next at least couple weeks because I have the Arnold coming up and stuff like that at the time this is being recorded. And so like I recently had a consult with someone and I was like, I'm at capacity, but here are 4 coaches that I would love to send you to because they're all great. And I think they do have capacity and they will probably even be better for you, even if I did have capacity. So I just really love being able to do that and call and not feel like, oh shit, I sent someone to someone else.
Yeah, you're
the team,
Yeah, save every sale. Yeah, it's not about that anymore. Not that it ever was for either one of us. I feel like we both were completely confident and fine with saying like, hey, we're not a good fit. Because there was times even with our previous company, if there was somebody that I knew would be a really good fit for them that didn't work for them, I would say like this person knows a lot about that, and there's something wrong with doing that. I think this shows you're a good human,
No, because like my mission and my values as a coach is really, or one of my values as a coach is to like help someone regardless of if it helps me. And like, even though some people like might feel like, well, oh, she doesn't want me to prep this year. Like they might think that that's more about me, but it's really about them because yeah, it's about me. I don't want to embarrass myself by putting someone on stage who's not ready. And like, I know this person isn't ready. But it's mostly about them. It's about like, I know it would not be healthy in any way for you to prep this year. So I'm not going to let you do it. And if you don't want to work with me because of that, like, well, you can go work with someone who will grind you into the ground and make you prep this year because you want it. Because I think that comes like demanding that respect for what we do is really important as a coach, especially if you want to level up, like you have to be honest with people enough that it might be something they really don't want to hear and you might lose the business, but at least you can sleep at night knowing that you gave the advice that you know they needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish for myself personally, my competing career so far would be very different if I would have been told a couple times, no, you don't need
Yeah.
to do this or you shouldn't do this. And I know I don't take no well, but that's something that I need is to say, no, you need to grow more. No, you
Yeah.
need, like, you're not going to do any better than you did the year before because it's been 6 months or something, you know what I mean? But so that's why I do the same thing with clients, being really honest. And you always have clients who are like, yeah, I don't care about being competitive. I just really want to compete. And then that's different, you know, but if you know
Yeah.
somebody like wants to turn pro or wants an overall or something like that, then you have to have the hard conversations sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we've been here for a while. We could probably talk about coaching all day,
I
but
know.
what is a personal belief or conviction that you hold strongly that has changed within your coaching career?
Oh man.
And what experiences have like made that a thing?
Oh man. I'm trying to think something that I used to think that I don't anymore. Probably the biggest one, and it's not something I do a lot, but because I have thresholds that I like to stay within, you know, like no lower than 40 grams of fat, no lower than 1,200 calories. But when in the beginning, I was very dead set on that. And I'm pretty set on now, but there are times now when you realize that some people's bodies just have to go lower in things.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And before I ever have to do that, it's always, you know, it's like to you, but whenever I have to like kind of break my own belief in that, I always tell the client, like, you know, are you okay with this? This is what we have to do, you know, but
Yeah.
that's something I used to be very dead set in. Like, you do not have to go below 1,200 calories to get stage lead. That is not true for some
Sometimes
people.
you do.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
wish that was the truth. And I wish that when you see somebody post, oh, this is my client, super lean, who got the overall on 1,800 calories. I wish that that was a reality for most people, but it is not.
It's just
And
not.
I try really hard now. Something I've changed is sometimes when I do post about a client, I try to be more aware of highlighting a unicorn situation as the normal
Mhm.
because that makes people think that they're broken or something's wrong with them because they don't get to that many calories or in a reverser. They don't get to eat that much or do, you know. But that's something I used to really think was like a fact that you did not have to get below XYZ, and it's not.
Mhm.
Some people's bodies are just they're gonna have to grind. But in reality, they're not any more hungry than the person on higher calories. Because if you're lean, if you're truly lean, you're lean and you're gonna feel the effects of that the same regardless of what your intake is. But I think that was something I really, you know, was very firm in that now I realize just isn't the truth all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I think the people, one thing like you mentioned, like when people like share a unicorn situation with a client about a client, you know, they did this on this. It's like, what are you marketing by saying that? Like, if you're just proud of the client for being able to do that, great. But what that's doing and what I know, people know what they're doing when they do that is
Yeah.
they are marketing this person's genetics
Yeah.
and or this person's work ethic. And
Yeah.
that unfortunately, like in my opinion, like that's kind of lazy marketing. It's kind of like it's clickbait, really.
Yeah.
And it's like if I'm gonna put something out there like that, like I'm really proud of my client for doing this on this, then like I'm gonna call it out. Like this is a unicorn situation, or like this person works really fucking hard. You won't get here without this kind of work ethic, or you won't
Yeah.
get here without this, right? But I think when coaches market someone and they don't call that out, and it means that like they're trying to get people to come to them because of this person's genetics, and that's just, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't compute. They don't connect. Like
Yep. And it's like
no.
it's a marketing tactic. You create a problem and
Mhm.
you've got the solution. The problem is you feel like you have to go too low in calorie preps too hard. I've got the solution up here. It's an easier prep where you eat more food. Come to my prep. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's kind of what it is. And it makes you aware. I try really hard. And it's hard because you want to share clients, but it's like you have to kind of decide, like, do you just not share their macros? Do you share, like, it's tough. And that has evolved a lot for me over the years. Because initially I did the same thing. I mean, I've done that where I'm like,
For sure.
they ate
Same.
this much food and did this little of cardio. But I might share the same things, but I word it very different. Like, understand this person, like you said, worked very hard. This was over an 8-month period. This wasn't a, 4 week.
Or this person is enhanced. That's one thing that I come
Yeah.
across quite a bit where someone is like, I just can't believe some of my teammates or some of my friends or this person or so is like looks like this and they were able to do this
Yeah.
with that. And I'm like, well, I don't know if this is true, but it very likely is that you just don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You
Yeah.
don't see that this person is enhanced. Like they're taking PEDs to make them like basically get through this aspect of prep, not necessarily easier, but with assistance that you don't have. You literally don't have the assistance that they have. And so like they still work hard, they're still doing a lot, but like you're not able to you can't compare yourself when that's the case. And even if enhancements aren't part of the equation, you can't compare yourself to someone else's genetics or someone else's, just like whatever however their journey, how well did they take care of their metabolism before their prep or throughout their prep? How
Or
well
just
did they stick to their
general.
reverse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is a closing remark? Anything that you want people to know who are listening to this?
Oh man, I don't know. Putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything. I feel like I'm just really happy for one, like to you. I'm happy we got to sit down and do this. And I feel like it's very common right now that people have a lot of questions about you and I and
Yeah.
our what we've been doing the past 5 months and what led us to going on our own. So I'm glad we just got to sit down and talk. And I don't know how it's going to come off when people listen to it, but I think the takeaway is that we are just genuinely good people that want to help other people. And I hope it comes off that way and not the opposite of that.
I agree. And I think to like add on to that is like that's what we're trying to be. That's what we're always focusing. Like everything you and I do are working on being that, like being that good person, that being that person that helps others. That doesn't take away from anybody else. We're not telling like me or you being a good person doesn't make anyone else a bad person. And
Yeah.
we're just focusing on our personal and professional growth. And when like every time I do a Q&A, I get maybe like 5 or 6 questions about like why'd you leave Provazine? Why did this happen? And it's like nothing I've ever said. I've said it publicly. I'm saying we're saying it on this. Nothing that we've said or told people privately or publicly have been something that like we haven't said to the people there, right? Like we're neither of us are afraid of that or afraid of like it coming off a certain way really because like we've been authentic about our reasoning from the start and there should be nothing wrong with someone going after what they want and how they want to do it. And if that means starting your own business or staying in a company that you work for or whatever you want to do in between, then that's what that means. And everyone has their different journey and you can create anything that you want to create. You just have to know how to do it and try and evolve and, just think about how you want to live your life and how you want to go day to day.
Yep.
So
Very well said. And I think a lot of people were looking for some big scandal or some big like tea, and there wasn't any. There was just two badass girls that decided this could be better, and we took the steps we needed to have it be better. I mean, it's that simple. Where I'm proud of you, Rachel.
I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. I definitely want to have you on in the future to talk like maybe more specific things or specific topics. I felt like this was a good episode to just like get out of the way because I know we both get questions on it and stuff. But I think one great thing about what I've seen you do and what I've been trying to do as well is just like moving forward and not getting too stuck in the past, not getting too stuck in like, okay, every time someone asks a question about it, I'm going to talk shit or something like that. Like we're just being honest about where we are in our lives. And that's something that we'll continue to do. So I'm excited to have you on more. And just talk more coaching, life stuff, just all of it. So
No, I so missed our weekly podcast.
I know.
That's been the thing I've missed the most. I think it's just the weekly chats.
Yeah, me too. So, all right, Refined Strength podcast out. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Bye.
Bye.